Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our virtual career spotlight on behalf of Chinook School Division and the Regina Industry Education Council. My name is Lisa Kuntz-Samanuk, and I am the Chinook School Division Industry Education Program Facilitator. Before we begin today, I would like to remind students to take a moment following the presentation to complete the brief student survey and be entered into a draw for $50. Your feedback is important to us in helping us to arrange future spotlights. We also have some time at the end of the presentation today for you to ask any questions you may have or contact Kai directly. Thank you. Kai Haubrich is with us here today from Swift Current. As a young businessman and owner of hobby landscaping and yard maintenance, his spotlight will focus on his experiences as a young entrepreneur. Kai currently lives in Swift Current and is a recent high school graduate. Kai started his own business while still in high school. He began doing snow removal in the winter and evolved into the landscaping company that it is today. Kai enjoys working full-time for himself in a field that he enjoys. The advice that he has for young people for his age: find something you like doing. If you're willing to put up with the responsibility and stress running your own business in the field that is great, it's a great way to ensure you are reaping the most benefits that you can. You could pretty much start any business you want. It's very rewarding at such a young age. Kai is a member of the Swift Current Chamber of Commerce, and just last month, he was awarded the Young Entrepreneurship Award by Edwards School of Business and Get a Bigger Wagon Productions. If you've ever been interested in owning your own business and working for yourself, or you're considering a career working outdoors and would like to be able to set your own schedule, then sit back and learn more from this successful young entrepreneur, Kai Haubrich, owner of Hobby Yard Maintenance and Landscaping. Please join me in welcoming Kai. Take it away, Kai.
Hi, my name is Kai Haubrich. I am 19 and I am the owner of Hobby Yard Maintenance and Landscaping. My company does three things mainly: snow removal, landscaping, and lawn care. How it started, as Lisa already said, I started my business in the winter of grade 12 at the age of 17. It started off as snow removal, but it grew really fast and had me branch into landscaping and lawn care in the summer months. I didn't think I was going to continue my business. I had plans to go to university, but when I saw how good my snow removal did and how rewarding it was to help out everyone with their snow removal so they don't have to worry about it, it made me think that I could actually start this as a company. So that's what I did. When I was younger, I always thought I wanted to be a business owner because I always liked working for myself, learning new things and learning from my experiences and not being under someone. And then when I was in grade 11, I once had a bad experience working for another company. And I always told myself that if I was ever going to be and own my company, I would be a much better boss and try to help my employees and not be negative and try to be the best person that I can to help them out and succeed in my company. Because if you have happy employees, your company goes a lot better because they want to come to work and they don't want to just sit at home and not go. So when you have good employees, it makes your business run smooth and easier. The first big part of my company is lawn care. Lawn care is a big part of my company in the spring and summer months. The busiest times for the lawn care are during spring and fall cleanups. Spring cleanup is when you get a jump start to your yard and it helps it out to fight the hot summer heat. And then fall cleanups are just picking up leaves and sticks and all that fun stuff that everyone loves to do. And it really makes you feel good when you're helping someone else who just doesn't have the time to clean up their own lawn. And it makes people happy and the smile on their face makes everything better. My favorite part of lawn care personally is when you apply pesticides and herbicides to your lawn. You have to get a special license from the government of Saskatchewan that you take through Polytech. And that is a very good license to have if you ever want to start this company, because it branches you out into a whole nother section that not a lot of people do, because it's, as long as you're safe, it's good, but not a lot of people want to do it because of all the concerns that if you mix the wrong spray or anything like that, a lot of stuff can go wrong. Weekly and bi-weekly mowing is another part of lawn care, which runs through the whole summer. We have customers that want it cut monthly, which is only once a month. And then we have customers that want it bi-weekly and weekly. I also have fertilizer plans and organic fertilizer that help your lawn out during the summer months. Snow removal is what started my company about a year ago. Snow removal is what keeps my company busy in the winter. Obviously, not so much right now, as there's only been about 6 snowfalls in the past month and a half. So we have been branching out into other things during the winter. Like this morning, we just did a junk removal job. started at 7, finished at 10, and then I have this now. So that wasn't a bad thing to do just on Friday morning. Quick little job. Snow removal is physically demanding and you have to work long hours. We usually get up around 4 in the morning and then we're done anytime between noon and 7 at night, just depending on how much snow there is. My company provides snow removal to around 70 houses a month. And we also do businesses in the downtown area and a few condos around Swift. When you're doing snow removal, just residential without having to do parking lots, the main 3 things you need are a good snow blower, a good leaf blower, because that makes your life a lot easier. And then sometimes you might need to use a shovel. When you have a leaf blower, though, it kind of negates the purpose of a shovel and your back doesn't hurt as much and it's a lot healthier for you. We also put down a lot of ice melt during the weird storms that we've got this year. I think in December, I went through around 4,000 pounds of ice melt just for residential areas. My least favorite thing about snow removal is the ice chipping because it's not very fun and it's physically draining. My favorite part of my business is landscaping. Landscaping, you get to transform people's backyards into something they've always wanted, something they've had visions of, but they never actually wanted to do it. One of the best things about landscaping is you get people that come to you and they don't know exactly what they want, but they have an idea. So you get to draw up plans and give them like 4 or 5 ideas. And it's one of the favorite parts because they get a look and they're like, oh, that's going to look awesome. And you always think you're like, yep. And that's your job to make it look good. And that's really fun. So yeah, the best thing with landscaping is getting to make people happy. Landscaping is also very physical, same with lawn care. I mean, same with snow removal. It's long, hot summer days, lifting, digging, trenching, pretty much anything you can think of that would get you dirty and sweaty a lot. Running machinery is also a good part of landscaping. When you get to run skid steers, it's fun. And I've always been into running equipment since I was a young age because I grew up on a farm and I've always loved running equipment for myself. The business side of things, owning a business isn't all fun and games. Paperwork is probably the most not fun part of owning a business, but it is equally as important as the actual work. Because if you don't get your paperwork done, you can't do the work. Taxes are a big thing when you're owning a business, whether it's PST, GST, or your payroll tax. Your payroll tax is due every month. And so is your GST is due every 3, and then your PST is also due. And that's, if you don't get those done, you can't have a business. So you have to make sure you stay on top of your business side while also making sure you do good on the actual of making things work out in people's yards. Doing quotes and keeping your employees organized is another big part. You have to be organized and make sure you know where you're going next and what next job you're doing. And when you're doing quotes, you have to make sure everything makes sense because you, as the owner, I would know what it means, but as the customer who doesn't know much about landscaping, they wouldn't know. So you got to make sure you have a very detailed list about everything and all the stuff that makes it easier for the customer to understand and choose your company to do the project. Invoicing is really important too, because when you invoice, you get paid. So if you fall behind on your invoices, you could have money problems and not do good. I like to do my invoices every 2 weeks during snow season and also during lawn care. And it just works sense every second Friday. I just send them out and it works good for all my customers and me. When you're doing the invoicing for big jobs, make sure you gotta make sure everything's labeled just again, so the customer knows what's going on and everything. When you're running a service-based company like I am at a young age, you deal with a lot of conflict because sometimes when people see a 19-year-old walk up, they don't think too highly of him because they don't think he knows what he's going to do. But then it can also go the other way where you have people that think you do really good work because you're 19 at that age. So it's kind of a conflicting thing. Employees are a big thing in my line of work because it is physically demanding and requires long hours in hot and freezing cold. And a lot of people don't like to deal with the temperatures of hot and cold. It's hard sometimes, but it's really rewarding when you're done the day. There's a lot of conflict when it comes to dealing with the customers, as I said before. But the main thing when you're running a business at a young age is you must stay professional. It can't be like you're texting your friend. you have to make it seem like it's coming from like an older person that texts properly pretty much. You don't want to text like you're texting your buddy to hang out. You want to make sure everything's professional, sounds good, so the customer knows that you know what you're doing. Advertising is a really big part of my business. I mostly run Facebook ads, which are inexpensive, and everyone is always scrolling on their phones. So it's a good way to get business. The best way to get business, though, is still word of mouth. So if you do a good job at one customer's place, they tell their friends, and then more work comes in, because if you do a good job, it equals more work. And then when a customer calls or texts you, you make sure you write down what they want, what they have. And then if you miss their call, you get back to them within 24 hours. Otherwise, they will go somewhere else. And you must try and find a solution that will work for both of you. That's another thing with conflict. If you're trying to quote a job and trying to get it, the customer might think the price is a little not great, or they don't like this exact thing. So you just talk with the customer, always stay professional when you're talking to them. And then usually it all works out in the end good. The best part about running your own business is you get to make your own hours and take time off when you need. But that also has a counterpart of sometimes when you want to take time off, you can't, because stuff needs to get done inside your business, such as paperwork, or you need to finish a job before a certain day so you can start the next one. But most of the time, if I set my schedule about a week in advance, I can usually have everything scheduled out so I can make sure I have the time off that I want to be able to go do something. You get to work when you run your own business, you get to work a job that you want to do. So when you go to work, you want to go, and it's not like a big drag thing trying to get there. When running a service-based business, you help a lot of people and your customers are very happy. And that is a good thing. When your customers are happy, it makes you happy. And you get to work alongside the people you chose to work with because you hire them. Obviously, sometimes it's not perfect, but when you're hiring people, you are the one who chooses who you work with. And that's also a lot of fun. Thank you for listening to my presentation.
Thank you, Kai. It's obvious that you're passionate about your business and are willing to learn and expand or branch out into new areas. You said, when things slow down, you have to still work. So you find other opportunities for your business. And so you're always excited to grow your business in new ways. Like you said, moving into yard maintenance, for example. I appreciate how you're real with us about your career choices and your plan, how it's evolved. You didn't necessarily go into something you thought you might do after high school, but you're passionate about what you're doing, and you changed your decisions and your plan based on the experiences that you had. We appreciate hearing both the rewards and the challenges of being a young entrepreneur. You spoke about dealing with conflict as a young entrepreneur and being professional. And that being professional is not something that people just know how to do. You have to learn about that. Do you have some advice that you could give to young students listening or others about what you can do to learn how to become professional? I know that you belong to the Chamber of Commerce. Maybe that's helped you as well, but what advice do you have for students?
Well, I had some trial and error at the beginning. If I'm going to be honest, it wasn't great. I didn't do a great job dealing with, but honestly, if your parents or your grandparents work in some kind of field where they have to talk to people more often than not, like my mom was a nurse, so she has to be professional at her job. So I honestly just kind of asked her the ins and outs of how to act more professional. And then once you talk to people and you say certain things, you can gauge on their reactions and you can gauge on the person of how professional. Because some people, when you go to their jobs, they don't want a monotone person, but you have to gauge that. Say you're talking to the person on the phone and they want to meet in person. You have to figure out on the phone if they're going to want a monotone person to talk with, or they're going to want a slightly friendlier, happier person, or not happier, but a friendlier, kind of more slack person. And it took me a while to figure that out. I'm kind of just getting to it now. And if you can figure that out, when someone's coming in to talk to you for any kind of business, it helps you get the job or do what they want to get done. that was my answer.
Awesome. One of the things you talked about as well is all the paperwork, and you said you have 70 customers and the planning and budgeting and all of that. Where do you get your experience in entrepreneurship in how to manage all those kind of things, the paperwork and the budgeting and planning your income, that kind of thing?
Yep. Family's a big thing in my business for that side, because my uncle, he helped me a lot with the budgeting and all that stuff, because he used to be a loan officer for 30 years. So he helps me a lot with that side. And then my brother too, he helps me with my budgeting and my goals of what I need to make and how much I can spend on equipment and everything, because he's taking economics in university. So that helps a lot too. Yes. And then also for when I bring money in, QuickBooks is a really good thing for my business, because it shows everything I've brought in, everything that comes out for every different thing, for payroll, gas, expenses, and taxes. It shows everything on a spreadsheet, so you can see exactly what you're losing and what needs to get better and what you can work on. And I go through that about once a week just to make sure I'm on track of what I want to do.
Awesome. I have two more questions, and then I'm going to open it up for others. One is around managing stress. So as a young entrepreneur, obviously you deal with stress, and you spoke of, we haven't had a lot of snow, so you had to quickly change your business and do some other things. What suggestions do you have for others in dealing with stress as a young entrepreneur?
For stress as a young entrepreneur, you can't overload yourself. Like I used to, when I started last year in the summer, I would overload myself. Like I'd be working 8 till 8. And you can do that for say 3-4 days at a time, but you have to take a little bit of time off. Otherwise you will just shut down completely. So the main thing is if you stress yourself out, you have to make sure you have something to fall back on, that you can relax and just forget about the world for a couple hours. Because if you don't have that thing to fall back on, it won't help you very much. You'll get overstressed, and then you'll be stuck in a loop of just being stressed out all the time. So you have to find something that you enjoy doing and something to fall back on. For example, if I get really stressed out, I usually go to the lake and go fishing, because it's calming. Like obviously I don't go in the middle of the day, but I'll go at night or the morning before we start work, or just take the weekend off and then go fishing or boating or something on the water, because it calms you down. So you have to find that thing that will help you de-stress, because if you don't have that, you'll be stressed all the time. And then when you're stressed, bad business decisions come out of being stressed.
Awesome. Very good advice. Okay, my last question. I noticed that you talked a lot about how learning is ongoing for you as an entrepreneur. You're always learning new things, and that mentors are very important. You've had lots of family members who've mentored you and helped you in this business. And I know you've had some teachers and other people that have helped you. What advice do you have to young students about getting mentors or appreciating the mentors that are out there perhaps for them?
Well, like for example, in my field of work, there's a bunch of other companies in town. So when I started, I reached out to the bigger ones in town and I offered to buy them supper. And then we either got food or we just had a phone call, and I just asked like how to start it up. And like for equipment purposes, I didn't know what brand would be the best to buy inside of Swift Current, because different brands have different services for Swift Current. Like you can't buy the brand, like a brand out of Calgary might not get serviced in Swift Current. So then you would kind of be hooched if it ever broke really bad. And then I would say a lot of people have mentors in their family that they might not know about, depending on what field they go into. Like I didn't really know my uncle knew a lot about the stuff until I was talking about it one day, and he's like, I can help you with that. So honestly, just talking about it with your family, someone might know something that you don't, and then any help is good help, in my opinion.
Awesome, thanks. Anyone else on the call have some questions for Kai?
No, I don't have any more questions. I was going to ask the same thing about mentorship. It's like how do you get started at a young age and get going with some support. So we kind of just answered that last question, kind of piecing it together with help from family and people and other things like that. But good on you, Kai, to to have the initiative to you know, I think, and sometimes the courage. Entrepreneurship is about risk and rewards. It sometimes takes some courage to take that step to say, I think I'm gonna give this a whirl, and kudos to you for taking that step.
Thank you.
So I see from one of the schools out there, the question is, how do you manage all the paperwork or bookkeeping on QuickBooks? And good job for taking that on.
QuickBooks is quite simple, actually. So for your expenses and everything, you just have your phone and there's a mobile app for it. So you take a picture of the receipt and then it logs and dates it for you in the program. And then when you want to, so your receipts and everything all go towards your GST and your PST and then your taxes at the end of the year. So it calculates that in QuickBooks for your GST. So whatever receipts come in, and then also whatever money you make comes in, you have to pay the GST on that during the middle of the year, every 3 months. So whatever I bring in, I pay 5% in GST. So it tallies that up on QuickBooks for you if you enter all your stuff. And then you just have to learn how to file it with the government, which was honestly a little confusing at the beginning because nothing with the government is really easy to navigate, in my opinion. But once you figure it out and you figure out how to navigate the website, when it becomes to paying anything that's towards the government or just pretty much anything you have to pay, once you figure it out once, it makes life a lot easier.
Thanks. Any other questions? I have one, you know, the question is around like getting started. So you have this idea, I want to own a business. And you said, you know, you want it to be a good business owner. So you have this idea somewhere and you've got mentors. And so you must have created a business plan and then now you get started. Like, how did that start?
To be honest, it was just one day I was sitting on the combine in the farm and I was like, I didn't want to get a job in the winter of grade 12 working at like Canadian Tire or somewhere like that. And I was like, what can I do with not a lot of startup cash? And what do I actually enjoy? And I like working outside and I like helping people. So I made a business plan with my uncle and then he went over it. And then I went and bought my first set of stuff. And then it kind of just started from there.
Oh, awesome. I have another question from a student. Is it hard to get employees? And what's it like hiring family versus other people?
Employees for me aren't the biggest issue right now, just because I had some friends that I've had for a while and we weren't super close, but I knew they didn't go to university out of their year out of high school. So that worked out good for me because they came to me asking for a job, and I only one didn't work out of the 4 that I had. And for the summer, it's also not terrible because you can find the high school students that want a summer job just for those 2 months. And those are my busiest 2 months. So I don't need them. I wouldn't need them the whole year. I really just need them for those 2 months that they don't have school. And then for family purposes, it's been pretty good for me because my brother also helps me a lot. And he's also a little bit of an owner of it at the same time. And he helps me a lot when it comes to landscaping projects, not so much the lawn care, the snow removal, or any of that. But when it comes to the springtime, if he has a day off from work or something like that, he'll come out and help me finish a project quick just because he has knowledge in that, because he did construction and landscaping for 6 years before he got his new job.
Okay. Awesome. What about your future? What's the future plans? You think this is something that you'll continue to grow and expand, or maybe do on the side and do other things, or no idea?
I haven't got that far. I was going to see how the next year plans out and then go from there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good idea. Lots of people do that. Any other questions? Nope, doesn't look like that. Well, thank you, Kai. On behalf of the Chinook School Division and the Regina District Industry Education Council, we want to thank you for sharing your experiences with us. It's exciting for us to see young entrepreneurs and that you just dug into it and are living the life that you enjoy and are doing something you're passionate about, and you're going to see what the future has in store. Thanks very much, Kai.
Thank you, Lisa.